the U.S. Supreme Court handed Donald Trump a major win as he continues to campaign to regain the presidency, overturning a judicial decision that had earlier excluded him from Colorado's ballot under a constitutional provision involving insurrection for inciting and supporting the 6th January 2021 Capitol attack.
I want to start by thanking the Supreme Court for its unanimous decision today. It was a very important decision. We're very well crafted, and I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs. And they worked long, they worked hard, and frankly, they worked very quickly on something that will be spoken about 100 years from now and 200 years from now. Extremely important. Essentially, you cannot take somebody out of a race because an opponent would like to have it that way. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's the leading candidate, whether it was the leading candidate or a candidate that was well down on the totem pole. You cannot take somebody out of a race. The voters can take the person out of the race very quickly, but a court shouldn't be doing that, and the Supreme Court saw that very well. And another thing that will be coming up very soon will be immunity for a president, and not immunity for me, but for any president. If a president doesn't have full immunity, you really don't have a president, because nobody that is serving in that office will have the courage to make, in many cases, what would be the right decision, or it could be the wrong decision. It could be, in some cases, the wrong decision, but they have to make decisions, and they have to make them free of all terror that can be rained upon them when they leave office or even before they leave office. And some decisions are very tough. I can tell you that as a president, that some decisions to make are very tough. I will say that President Biden, number one, stop weaponization. Fight your fight yourself. Don't use prosecutors and judges to go after your opponent, to try and damage your opponent so you can win an election. Our country is much bigger than that. The other thing I say to President Biden, close the borders now. This is not sustainable for our country. It's not sustainable for our cities. Our country is under siege. They're hurting our country horribly.
The justices of the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously reversed the 19 December decision by Colorado's top court to kick Trump off the state's Republican primary ballot after finding that the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment disqualified him from holding public office again. Let's listen into what some voters in the U.S. are saying as they react to this big development.
Regarding the Supreme Court overruling of Colorado's Supreme Court decision, I think that it's a bit inconsistent when the Supreme Court advocates for states' rights in things like abortion, but won't accept the state's ruling when it comes to who they want on the ballot. They're free to interpret the Second Amendment any way that they care to, but when it comes to the 14th Amendment, they have a very specific ruling.
I could not. When I threw up in front of my television set, I knew something was wrong. He's a liar, he's a thief, he ties up all of Florida, he's crazy. I mean, I lived in Florida, I moved out for that reason. Because I lived in the area, he's a crook. He's a crook.